On Friday, 10 October 2014, we read, ISIS defies US strikes, seizes one-third of the Syrian town of Kobani. White cop kills black teen in St. Louis. This incident when an off-duty officer fired 17 shots at the 18-year-old. These are not scattered incidents. There is an overall plan. The plan is, this is the process of destabilization of the political scenario of America. This has to happen simultaneously with the rise in prominence of the state of Israel, so that Israel will one day be able to take over the role of the ruling state of the world from America, just as America did about a century ago, when the transfer of power from Britain to America was completed, and the Dajjal's day, from a day like a year to a day like a month, came into being. And so now the Dajjal's day like a month is coming to an end, and the Dajjal's day like a week is beginning to emerge. So that transfer of power from America to Israel is to happen, and all these are plans so that the internal destabilization of the American political scenario aids in this entire process. Indian surrogate baby left behind, twin taken to Oz. This incident happened in 2012. There is a recent incident in Thailand where a disabled twin was not accepted by the original parents, Australian parents, which put an end to commercial surrogacy in Thailand. Now, this is not just news. What we want to focus is on a very important prophecy of the Prophet Muhammad. Usually the signs of the last age are classified in two categories, the major signs and the minor signs. In our classification of the signs, we follow a threefold classification. This is our introduction, our own classification. Someone can say that, how could you come up with a new classification since this is no precedent? The answer to such a question is that even the classification of signs of the last age into major and minor was, when it was introduced by the scholars of that time, did not have a precedent, for the signs did not or were not classified by the Prophet ﷺ himself. So that's not the point at all. But the point is, in our threefold classification, the sign that we are going to discuss about now is what we have classified as something even more important than the major signs, and we call it the mother of all signs, or the most important of all signs, Ummul Ayah. So we will discuss in brief hadith. We have discussed this in our Retreat 2013 videos, and we will also make some videos in the Bangla language for the benefit of the Bangla audience about this very important hadith. We have also written some articles about this, which are also available in the public domain in my website, blog and channel. Okay, so the hadith states that there are three important signs being mentioned in this particular hadith, which is normally referred to as the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, the hadith of Gabriel alayhi salam, peace be upon him. So in this hadith, one of the signs mentions that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress. What does the sign refer to? It refers to surrogacy. And surrogacy did not exist even, say, 20-30 years back. It's becoming popular now. Now, in this hadith statement, which happens to be the very first hadith of book number 1 of Sahih Muslim, book number 1, chapter number 1, hadith number 1. This is the hadith of Jibreel. It's so easy to find. The very first hadith of the very first book of the very first chapter in Sahih Muslim. So in this particular hadith, it narrates three signs. And one of the signs is, this is, as I said, occupies a position more important than even the major signs. So we have minor signs, major signs, and at the top of that we have the most important signs of all, or the mother of all signs. So one of the signs is that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress. So surrogacy was not present even some 30 years back. It's happening now. So these signs are so easily observable that one day when you see these signs, you should be able to know that you are living in the last stage and the approach of the hour is close. Here the term slave girl is used because the terminology of surrogacy did not exist at that time. And when we say that this hadith refers to surrogacy and it is they who have been referred to as the slave girls, what we want to draw your attention to is the case in Thailand. So they put an end to commercial surrogacy. In this case, the lady who is renting her womb, so to say, is doing so in order that she might earn some money. In essence, she is acting like a slave girl, doing certain things for some money, for some monetary benefit, and hence it is she who is being referred to as a slave girl in this particular hadith. And this is being fulfilled, and we can see it in front of our very eyes. Now, there have been alternate interpretations to this particular hadith, all of which are wrong. Some suggest that it is the illegitimate relationship which a man has not with his wife but with another woman, the maid, and of that relationship when a child is born, this hadith is actually in reference to that sort of an incident. But no, this cannot be true, because when such a child is born, that is still called an illegitimate child and never has the status of the child does not have the status as would a child born of the same man through his wife. They never reach that status. But in this particular hadith, it is mentioned that the slave girl will give birth to her mistress. So the child is born and the child becomes her mistress, and the slave girl remains a slave girl. So this is the implications and the unfolding of the events and the signs which were being referred to which were to happen in the last stage and which were referred to in the hadith, which it is impossible how could the companions of the Prophet have understood. But yet they preserved the hadith, and so it has reached us now. And today we are able to understand the consequences. And all of these three signs, there's no need for us to discuss all of these three signs in this short address, but all of these three signs are so much observable incidents, events, phenomena, that it's very easy for understand when we see these signs in front of our eyes that we should know that we are living in the last stage. That is the implication and the understanding of the importance of this news. So basically this news is not just news, it has a lot of eschatological significance, as we have just stated.